Well, welcome, Eric and Adair. It is lovely to have you here with us. For those who don't know me, my name is Jess, and I am the part-time, very part-time communications person for Forge Aotearoa. And it is my privilege to have a chat with Eric and Adair this morning, and hopefully they're going to share a little bit of insight into where they're planted currently and what God is doing in their community. So, welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are and your community context and what your role is within it at this current time?
Okay, so we are, Eric and Adair, as has been established. We are Presbyterian ministers, relatively newly minted. We are in our third year, but that still feels kind of new. And we are in Nawton, which is in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. Our role actually has just recently undergone a little bit of a shift, but we were half-time ministers of the Nawton Community Church and half-time looking at kind of a new initiative, church planting sort of a scenario. One full-time role between us, half half. But just recently we've had that reviewed. That half situation wasn't working so well. So the new situation is that we have been released to go full-time into the new initiative church planting space with just a few additional hours with Nawton Community Church. So we're excited by that. And yeah, in terms of our context, so Nawton is well, it's quite a diverse sort of a suburb, but it's probably known more for its really low socioeconomic situation, very high Māori population. Yeah, you're often better at those sorts of details that you.
So there's kind of like a Norton East and a Norton West. Half of the suburb is probably considered to be a little bit of the hood in West Auckland, Northwest Auckland, Northwest Hamilton, blah blah. And the other, like lots of cool things happening there, but all the kind of the normal concerns and issues and stuff that are kind of commonplace there. I think a lot of people, yeah, struggling with employment and cycles of poverty, health issues, housing issues, schooling issues, etc. And then the other half of the suburb is a lot more diverse with probably predominantly Asian background people, some Middle Easterners, higher concentration of Pākehā, and yeah, probably more of a mixture of social status and class, for want of a bit of a term. Yeah, so and maybe some newer kind of not suburbs but development areas and stuff. So newer housing and things in there as well. So it's quite mixed, quite diverse, multicultural, but yeah, and it's part of Northwest Hamilton, kind of in the middle of that section. Yeah, and our kind of scope would pick up all of that Northwest Hamilton.
Cool. So, you guys have been there for 3 years now?
Yes.
2.5.
Well, yeah. Yeah, 2.5 in the role and living here 2 years. Yeah, living in the suburb.
And you were out of Hamilton before that?
We were in the Hawke's Bay for 2 years doing our internships. But prior to that, we were Hamilton based on the other side of Hamilton. And we both grew up in Auckland. So, yeah.
Cool. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about the journey so far? So, obviously, there's been some like recent changes. Where have you guys been, and where do you think God is leading you?
Yeah. So yeah, initially because we have a shared role, we tried in our first year to do everything pretty much together as we were kind of building relationships and learning new things about our context and engaging with people in those areas. We found that the existing church that was half of our role was actually taking up the vast majority of our role for a bunch of reasons, but probably at least 85% of our time. So year one, very kind of ad hoc beginning things in the community, just trying to find spaces where we could find out more about the nature of our community and some of the longings and dreams and key people and narratives. And so immersed in, got involved in kind of networks that involve all the social service agencies and the schools and the police, council, kind of order, those kind of spaces as they're engaging with those things to see what we could learn and also where our fit might be, how we could contribute. Also, hubs in the community. So this, again, the schools, the shopping centre, the local community centre would probably be the biggest hub. So we've kind of increasingly been found in that space, going along to things, volunteering, ran an alpha course there for a while to see how that would go. Just various things there. It's slowly getting to know our street and our neighbourhood, our particular part of Nawton. Year two, we split off in our roles, and because we were finding we weren't able to do enough in the community, so I kind of took primary kind of focus there and Adair primary focus at the church. As it turned out, by the end of year two, we realised it still wasn't really working the way that we'd hoped, and we weren't able to. We felt both the church needed more attention and the community needed more attention, and we wanted to work side by side. So hence going through a bit of a review. So more recently, we've been released to be more available into the community. So we've started up what we call a Nawton Community Corridor with the head of the community centre. And so we're meeting monthly with a group of local members of the community to plot together goodness for all in our community, I suppose. So to see what are some of the strengths and resources and hopes and dreams that we have for our area and our shared spaces in our area, and how we can collaborate together as locals to work towards that for the flourishing of our community, and hopefully to change some of the narratives. This thought that you always have to move out of your community to find a better community. How can we see Nawton improve based on its strengths and resources and capacity within it? So so that's an exciting new space. So maybe to summarize, so like a whole lot of listening and engaging and just being present in the community, becoming known, finding key people, and just looking for those people and places of peace. Been doing a lot of that in the last couple of years, and now trying to build off that and those relationships into some spaces that meet regularly, that we can invite people into. So there's like a community men's group we've started that I co-lead with a non-Christian guy, open to any men in the community, kind of like a men's chat group, which is an unusual and different thing for a lot of adult men, but it's going well. And this community corridor space, Adair mentioned about earlier about a family space with a meal attached to it, Whānau Fuel, which we're going to be launching soon. So those kind of spaces that we can be meeting some people that we're meeting in the community more regularly, and building relationships and hopefully going from casual conversations to more meaningful conversations to spiritual conversations.
That's so exciting. So when you talk about like spaces and places, like what building are you using? Are you using the community centre, the church building, your home? Or is it just a mixture of all, or?
Yeah, all of the above, really. It's great being connected with the church in the sense that we have access to that facility, which is really good, but it's not always the right place.
Mm.
Because sometimes it's the right place because it's the church, sometimes it's not the right place because it's the church.
Mm.
So we definitely have a bit of a default, I think, to operating out of the community centre when, that's, when we're looking at something new. We think that communicates a lot of really good stuff. Being, as Eric has already talked about, I think, being connected and present and not coming and doing to, but doing with. And I guess, maybe historically the church has really majored on being other, and, maybe there's a place for that, but in terms of where we're at and what God's calling us to do, it's sort of minimizing that otherness and being, very much with everybody. So the community centre is a great space, and we think the homes are a really important place. We don't tend to come and go from each other's homes a lot, even in church these days. And it's a space that we feel challenged to develop personally, but we also think that kind of hospitality, being in each other's homes, sharing our lives, is quite a vulnerable place and something that we really want to develop and continue to explore. Yeah.
That's cool. I think you guys have already started answering this question, but do you want to, is there something that sort of encapsulates like the big vision for you? Like some of the core values that you have or that you hope to embody as you move towards that vision?
It's probably quite hard to do that encapsulates, but I think it's kind of a lot of um, ideas and things that are kind of informing the ways that we are moving, but it's not necessarily, consolidated into a nice, simple kind of it's going to look like this.
Yeah.
um, and I think, like I said, that kind of concept of hospitality, being present to each other, I think, again, our churches have been great kind of community spaces in one sense, but in another sense, I think we would kind of critique that maybe we haven't done community as well as we could have. And, I think anyone who's got their eyes open, we're just culturally, we're so individualistic and independent and that kind of thing. And we sort of feel like as we explore what it means to be a faith community going forward, we're just really, really struck by how much God is into building a people and our relationships and connectedness and vulnerability and sharing our lives and things. So that whole space is something that's really important to us, working out what that looks like. I think, we critique a lot in terms of what we see culturally and in the church, and so we don't want to be reactionary, but there is a real sense of we've always done it that way, but not actually sure that that's the best way, and it isn't necessarily all that kind of congruent with Jesus. Like culturally, again, we're into kind of big and loud and bright and successful, and just a lot of those things that have informed certainly a lot of the aspects of the ways we've done church. So I guess we're more inclined towards kind of small, low key, simple, accessible, reproducible, come as we are, vulnerable. So those kind of values are ones that we're working with a lot, and anything that takes shape in terms of our life as a community of believers. So we're very aware of how that forms us. So I guess discipleship less as a course or lessons, which may feature to some extent, but we want everything that we do and are to also be kind of discipling and forming us, rather than just being a program with a goal that through kind of information download that we're going to take people. We have an idea that we could do that better, but we're still figuring out what that looks like.
Yeah. I think it's always a journey figuring it out, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's easier to critique, harder than to work out, because we haven't been formed that way, We haven't had experience of it, so we're having to trial and error and explore.
Cool.
Okay, I may just add, like some of the things we're reading a lot these days are more around the neighborhood and what does it look like to be really grounded in your locality and God's passion for place and seeing
Mm.
change and flourishing in the actual people in a particular place. So yeah, we've gotten to know our street and getting to know our neighborhood and getting to know our community, and we believe God is active in all kinds of spaces that we haven't seen yet, and we're rather than sitting down working out a little agenda of our dreamed up kind of new initiative ideas. It's more a case of, through these relationships and conversations, trying to sense where is God at work and hear the invitation of God into that space to join Him already at work up ahead of us. And for the good of not just the individual that we're connecting with, but the neighborhood that they're a part of and the community that they're a part of. So it's kind of it's very neighborhood grounded and focused.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You mentioned reading some books. Are there books or resources or tools that you guys like really recommend to other people who may identify with what you guys are up to in your community and what God is doing?
One that we read over the summer that we really like, which we're thinking a bit about these days. So the new parish.
Yeah.
So
very exciting to read.
How neighborhood churches are transforming mission, discipleship, and community. So looking at a different kind of vision for the parish that's focused around neighborhoods and something, very slow and organic, but grounded in a particular place. And then really enjoying this one too, The Church's Movement by J.R. Woodward and Dan White, starting and sustaining missional incarnational communities. So like they're both quite different but complement each other.
Yeah, awesome.
And then one of the things that was recommended out of one of those books that's more written in a secular vein but very much based on kingdom values is The Abundant Community, Awakening the Power of Families and Neighborhoods. So very much looking at the process of what is community-led development. And that's something that we're finding ourselves in at this time and can see it will be a big part of us going forward as well. And whatever neighborhood churches develop, we envision that a part of their rhythm of life will be engaging with the community for the community. So not necessarily starting up all their own initiatives and providing them for the community, which is good in itself, but actually, with, as Adair said, with the community. Yeah.
I'm just going to add a quick thought here. Why are we so the emphasis on kind of community and all of that? I think a thing that we would observe is historically the church has like been super, we would say maybe overemphasized personal salvation, which is fantastic, and we're still really excited about personal salvation. And I guess our understanding of faith and what God is all about is Jesus. The good news was the kingdom has come and is coming, and God is, we believe we're partnering with God in ushering in the kingdom. So this isn't just about doing good works. It's not just about development for its own sake. We really believe that God
saving souls.
Yeah, well, we do believe that people need to encounter Jesus, personally, and we believe in that in salvation. But we also believe that God's really, really invested, and that we as believers are to partner with Him in ushering in the kingdom, and whatever the world will look like, where God is King. And so we see that as very much an expression of the gospel, not just good works for their own inherent virtue. So that, of course, is the case as well.
Cool. That's awesome, guys. And one final question, just to throw this in there. Do you guys have any I'll call it advice or tips or encouragement, perhaps is a better word for people who are like you and have a heart for ushering in God's kingdom in their communities.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is things like your forges. I think you really need, speaking of community, you need your own community. Because as I said earlier, most of us haven't been cultured by these kinds of expressions of faith and church. Certainly for ourselves, we came out of a fairly traditional evangelical background, and that was great. But there's a lot that we've kind of deconstructed and thinking through in fresh kinds of ways. And so to be journeying with other people who are also thinking about things fresh, able to think outside of the box, it can be a bit of a lonely journey unless you've got other people who you are connecting with and can help kind of keep you on track, because our defaults always tend to be to what we know. So to be interacting with other people who kind of keep keep knocking off the edges and keep reminding us what we're about and encouraging us. I think you need a lot of people to kind of be cheering you on and encouraging you.
And just to take that a little bit further, people that are willing to sign up for a significant duration of time to journey with you in this. It may be that we are hungering for others to join us, and they may not be teammates on the same kind of level of commitment and time as what we can do, but people who really carry the same vision and are going to share some of the of carrying that and shared practices of praying together and other spiritual rhythms together, so that we're kind of we're hungering for that. So if anyone is interested in coming to Northwest Hamilton, keen to chat. And I'd probably just say, for us, we're probably very good at the doing and pretty good at the knowing. We're constantly reading and learning and listening, and obviously loads more can happen in those spaces. But the being side of things is something that we've been increasingly challenged by, that we want to actually start as we mean to continue, and not just to hope that what takes shape up ahead, whether it's neighbourhood churches or whatever, we don't want to start that then, but we actually need to be.
We want to embody, not just make it out there. It needs. We need to be the kinds of people who, embodying the things that we say are important.
So we are prayerful people, but we realise we don't have enough of a rhythm together, praying regularly throughout the week, throughout the month. And we don't have others joining us in that space. And there's other kind of spiritual rhythms that we want to connect collectively and actually live into that. And so we're characterized with it, so that whatever flows out of these efforts that the Lord has called us to will kind of pick up that DNA, rather than just trying to start it or transplant it up ahead. We need to be living it now. Yeah. So that would be challenging us and something we're learning. Yeah.
So exciting, guys. We'll be certainly praying for you that those people come on board to join what God is already doing, because I know from experience how important it is to have a team with you and alongside you, and just love that thought of embodying those values that you want down there in the future, but it has to be personal first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning, and I hope those who have listened in have just captured a few little gems to take away from this conversation. But we will continue to pray for you guys in Nawton. and what God is doing there among you. And it is really exciting. But thank you again for joining us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess.